and I'm a learning specialist with Performance Matters. And you guys received some training a little earlier this year. I was probably the one that did the training with you guys. Now, from my understanding, you guys do SLOs?
Yes, ma'am.
So all of you guys, did you do an administration of one earlier this year? Mm-hmm. Okay, so everyone did. Okay. So the purpose of today is just like a little refresher to remind you guys of how to release the test, how to monitor the students while they're testing. Anyone have constructive response questions on there? That's, okay, how to go through with a score. Any of those, what we call rubric scored items on the assessment. I taught for 14 years, so I know how precious the planning period is, so this should not last the entire planning period. So you'll have time to run to the restroom if you need to. So what I need you guys to do is log into unified.performancematters.com. So it's up on the screen, unified.performancematters.com. Just go ahead and log into our unified platform.
What's the, oh, this is wrong person.
And keep in mind, if you do see a little icon on there, maybe the student administration, this book called OLA or SAM, which is how our students actually. So yeah, so that's the student administration window. And then once you get to the screen that has unified, you click on that black bar, and then you'll sign in. And it should be your email address for your username. I can't remember. It should be your email. And then whatever you have for your password.
It was something that I had used Sally.com.
Okay.
I'm gonna remember that. Next time you want $3.
Oh my goodness.
$3. Sometimes I forget that lunch cash.
Yeah, but we're talking about 3 or 4 days a week.
Nah, it's not 3 or 4 days a week.
Oh, yeah, we can get that. I've been reading the mice, man.
Oh.
So I'm in full character. I don't like to leave
So
character.
if you get props, I could not work with them.
I didn't think I could either, not gonna lie.
I mean, no offense.
No offense, I was
My
kind
mom
of
was
scared
probably
going
saying
into
about
this.
me.
This work actually worked out very well. I was very scared going into this. We butt heads.
Oh, you should, yeah, you're an ADMS.
Yeah.
Just push here where it says unified.
Oh.
Yes, I have.
Okay,
We got my library to sign up for this. Library.
You email? I've got mine.
Okay, come up.
I wanted to do mine.
Yeah.
Monitor.
What are we not doing?
Well, we tried.
Performance matters, unified
Yeah, I have
performance
Hero on my computer. That would be the easiest thing to do. And y'all can see all the screens at one time.
Somebody in the labs,
Just get in Hero.
you can see
You
everything.
can see everything at one time.
I don't know about this.
Yeah, we've asked for things like that.
It's on my computer.
But they probably
No,
don't.
they're monitoring you. You can't do anything. That's
Yeah.
what Charles,
Oh, they're
that's what
monitoring
Charles
me.
is seeing.
They're not gonna do that. That's why they don't want y'all looking at the questions.
I haven't been in the corner.
They can.
Find your landing page for Unified. And once again, what we're going to do, I'm going to walk you through how to release a test to students, how to monitor students while they're testing, and then how to score any constructive response questions for your assessment. I know they're saying that they want you guys to move toward using this platform for your test. So this would be the main means that you'll use to actually do that. So the first thing, I click on the test menu here. So click on the test menu. And then you're going to go to Test Center. Test Center. And this is where we go to release our tests. And when we say release, it just means make it accessible to your students. Now, my screen is going to look a little different from yours because, once again, these are the tests that are available for your students to take. If you don't have any tests that are open for your students, then you're not going to see anything on your screen. Now, if you did want to see some of the tests that may be listed there, click where you see where it says Limit to Open Test Window. Click on that checkbox. And you may see a few tests here that your students may have taken in the past. So it just means that these are your previous tests in which the test window is closed, or you may have tests that have not yet opened yet. If they're taking a slower May, then the window hasn't been open yet. Now, once there's tests that are actually available, or tests that you created and that you actually want to release to your students, then you'll also see, you see I have a whole bunch of icons up there that you guys don't see at all. And once again, that is because of the rights that I have to these tests, I'm able to see certain things. So you guys, just a couple of things. Some of you guys, once again, depending upon your students, you're going to see icons on your screen that may not be on your neighbor's screen. Once again, it just depends on the access to the particular test that you have. So remember, with Test Center, this is where you go to release your test to your students. It's time for my students to take this test, so I need to make it available to my students. So if you look on the far right-hand corner, some of you guys may have to look on the neighbor, or you can look up here if you don't see this star over here on the right-hand side. So you can either look up here on my screen or look at your neighbor. Some of you guys, your neighbor has that screen. Were you able to get your password? Were you able to get logged in?
She's looking.
Okay.
Yeah, she can't, yeah, it's not letting her in. She's
So
tried
what-
both emails and it's not letting her in.
Are you able to see her password? Okay,
I should be able to, I'm just not, I haven't been shown how to do that.
No problem, no problem. Okay, you guys, so what you will do, this star here, and if you hover over it, you'll be able to see that it's going to release the test. So I'm going to click on this button and let you guys look at the screen for a second, and then I'll come back. So we still have to hold, that's why it's sitting there, okay, so which one? Okay, so how do we do? How do we do? Sorry. So, And you guys, what I actually pulled is the test that I chose, because I'm actually logged in Washington County, so you're seeing information for your district. I actually pulled the mock writing test that they're giving over at the high school right now, so we can really do some damage if we push buttons on here, so you're going to be really careful. What has happened? They have released the test to the 8th graders, so they're over there taking the mock writing test right now. So as I look at this screen here, I see that they released it to 126 8th graders. It says a sign, that means it's been released to those students. 4 students in progress. We have 74 students that have finished the test. So that's how I would read those icons. Down here at the bottom, let me scroll down a little bit. Down here, I can see the students that are in progress, that are testing. I clearly see their information here on the screen. If you were administering a test and you don't want to release it to all of your students on your roster, you can release per class period. So down there's a drop-down menu down there, and I can release per class period. Once again, I'm not pushing anything because I don't want to mess them up. But once again, if I want to release it at the beginning of the first period, I will go through, click on my first period class. It will show just my students in first period. I will release my test to my students. And if you look down here, you see the release button down here. So that's what I mean when I say release. So I would do my first period class. My students will be highlighted. I will click on release. My students now have access to my test. We strongly encourage, for security reasons, whenever you are releasing a test, to only release it to the students that you actually see in front of you. Because if you release it to your students, all of your students in first period, and you have 2 kids that are absent, they can still access that test from any device. So they could be at home working on that test because you released it to them. So just keep that in mind. Just for security reasons, you only want to release it to students that you actually see in front of you. So if you did have students that were absent, all you would do is just click on that particular student name and then click on unrelease, and then they won't be able to see the test anymore. So it's just as simple as clicking on it and unreleasing the test. Another thing to keep in mind, once you release the test, you have to close this window out, or they won't be able to access it. So you have to make sure that you click the close button down in the lower right-hand corner to actually give them the access to the test, and that's the final step. So I'll come in here, I'm going to release this test to my students, so it's been released. I clearly say here that it's showing me that I've released it to 126 students. If the student is absent, I can once again click on here and unrelease so that that student doesn't have access to that test. And once again, you usually unrelease it if that student is not there in front of you. You have a couple of different options whenever you're releasing a test. If you want to release all your tests for the 1st through 6th period at the beginning of the day, you can. But keep in mind, your students in 6th period, or maybe 1st period, your students in 6th period has access to that test. So just from a company perspective and security perspective, we do encourage you that you release and unrelease per class period, but that is completely up to you. But just keep in mind, once you release it to a student, if they have a device, they can go and take that test if you release it to them. So once again, just make sure you close it on out. And then once again, I've released that test to my students. So now my students are able to log into OLA, which they have an icon on their desktop that looks similar to this. So the student login looks different from ours. This is what students, this is their login screen. So they would log in, as you release the test to them, they would log in, select the test that you just released, and they begin taking the test. While they are testing, of course, we know that we're monitoring the students while they're testing. So you can walk around and monitor your students. But I'm going to also show you how you can monitor from your computer screen as well. So what I'm going to have you guys do, so you actually see it, because right now we're in your site and I don't want to mess with anything in Washington's site. So I'm going to give you guys a generic login so you can log in and see if you can actually click on buttons and stuff in this other screen. So go ahead and go back to where your name is, that drop down arrow next to your name, and log out. and then click that customer login button again. But I want you to use this criteria to log in. Username be teacher@ga.net, and the password is training. So username, and the teacher@ga.net, and the password is training. And you should see in the upper right-hand corner, it should say Nina Chambers, and you should be in live. Oh, this is our demo school. So whenever we do trainings, we demo from here. So logged in as Nina Chambers. Okay, so once again, keep in mind, when we started out, I need to release my test. I needed to give my students access to my test. So I went to Test Center, clicked on that star, release my test to my students. Now my students are now in the process of taking their test, so I need to monitor them. So now let's click on OLA Student Admin. OLA Student Admin. So when they take the test in OLA, and your screen should look like this, because we actually have to select the test that we want to monitor. So click on that drop down, and it should have a test with my name. Should be the first one where it says Beverly Training Test. Just click on that. There were a couple of you that have administered the SLO at the beginning of the year. Anyone here administered the SLO? Okay. I'm the only one that's still on. So, in this menu here, this is where I monitor my students. So right now, if I'm looking at this screen up here, I have 96 students. I haven't assigned this test yet to any of my students. I have 96 students that have been unassigned. This test hasn't been assigned to them. If I wanted to see who those 96 students were, let's click on that button. And it should highlight those 96 students. So I can quickly see who I haven't assigned the test to. Now, if for some reason I forgot to do that in Test Center, you see where it says choose an action? Say, for instance, you just forgot about Test Center, but I went to OLA Student Admin. I wanted to see these 96 students. I need to assign them their test. Everyone see where it says choose an action? I can actually release that test to the students from this window as well. So I would click on release to OLA. And you now see up here where it went from unassigned to assigned. Also, one thing with Unify, whatever page you're on in Unify, if you look in the upper right-hand corner, there's a help button up there. So if you ever have a question about an icon, what does this page do, I'm completely lost, click on that blue book in the upper right-hand corner over here. That will take you to our online help. It's based upon, what pops up on this screen is based upon the page that you're on. So whatever page you're on, it'll pop you up to that online help. If you're the type of person that likes to read from the computer screen, just click on the drop-down arrows here. And it explains everything to you in the drop-down arrows. I'm the type of person, I need it printed out so I can highlight it, write on it. Down at the very bottom, there was an icon down here where it said PDF printable quick doc down here. It will give it to me as a PDF, so that way if I need to print it off, I can actually print it off and do it that way. So once again, it doesn't matter what screen you're on in Unify, that help button is there and it's based upon the page that you're on. So you can always click on that if you ever have any question about what's going on in the platform. And once again, every time we click on something, it's opening in a new tab. So I don't have to click the back button, I can click on the open tab. Another thing as well, the preferred browser for Unify is Chrome because they do the most updates. So just keep that in mind. Yes, you can use the other browsers, but there may be certain things that you may not be able to do because it's not updated in that browser yet. But Chrome does the most updates, so we recommend Chrome. Okay, so let's go back to that Unify page where it says Unify OLA Online, and it should say OLA Student Administration. So once again, my students are taking the test. A new feature, you said you've given it before. One new feature that we've added actually about 3 weeks ago, this live updates button here. Click on that live updates button. That gives you live update of student progress in real time. So as your students, once they sign in, you'll be able to see the number of students in progress. So right now I have 4 students that are taking the test. Another new feature is here where it says lock. This was just implemented a few weeks ago as well. And once again, that is an optional feature of where you can actually, students will get locked out of their test if they go to another browser. So say they're taking their test and they're like, you know what, I don't know the answer to this, let me go to Google and try to Google it. They'll have 3 seconds. If they don't navigate back in 3 seconds, they get locked out. So you would have to go through and unlock that student's test. So once again, that feature, you will only see that button if that feature is turned on for the test. If it's not turned on, you won't see that feature at all. So it's completely up to your district or whether or not you use the lockout feature. So a student has gone through and completed the test. They have clicked stop and they clicked exit. So they've submitted their test to the system. Now, the way that it works, what period is this, third? Okay, the way that it works, you have students, say for instance, you have students take a test first period, second period, and you want to start grading your third period. We have a 24-hour wait before you can go through and grade any constructive response question, or if you want to actually see their results. It's a 24-hour wait period. So you couldn't have it first period, second period, and then log in third period and try to see anything. It doesn't work. You have to wait 24 hours before you can actually grade any constructive responses or see their responses. Now we are, in the process of doing a 15-minute wait, but it has not been implemented yet. But this county is one of the pilot schools that they're going to pilot that with, this district. It just hasn't been implemented yet, so once that happens, of course, we'll push that information out to your district so that you know, hey, it's a 15-minute wait as opposed to an overnight wait. And then once that 24 hours, so that next day has passed, I will now see the students that are finished. So you'll see students sitting and submitted until the next day. Once you log in the next day, then those students will move over and be counted for finish. So once again, you won't be able to see it that day that they take the assessment. It will be the following. Okay, so once again, I've released it. My students have taken the test. So now it's the end of the period. I've gone through. They're finished, the end of the day. So now, I'm going to log into Unify because I have some constructive response questions that I need to grade. So the students have gone in and typed something, or if they've written something and they've scanned it, I need to grade that question in the system. So I'm going to show you how you actually grade a constructive response question. So, right now we're still in test, we're in OLA student admin. Let's click on that test menu one more time. And we're going to go back to the test center. So we circle back to where we started. And remember, we're now in our demo site, so it looks different. Now you actually see all these icons where you didn't see them when you were in your site. So now all these little icons have popped up. Once again, keep in mind, if you ever have a question about any of these fields that you see here, you can always click on the help button. Now, what was the icon that we clicked on to release the test to our student? What icon was that one? The star. Now I want to actually grade that assignment. I want to score it. So I'm going to give you guys a second to hover over these icons and see if you can figure out which icon allows me to score an assignment. So just hover over the icons. As I hover, things will pop up. And we found the icon that will let me score.
The check.
The check mark, yeah. So if I want to go through, if I have anything I need to score, let's go to where it says sample writing performance assessment. Let's go to that one. Let's click on that check mark. So a student has done a constructive response. I need to read their response. So the first thing that will pop up is a summary menu. And this menu is saying, okay, hey, you have a question here that needs to be scored. You need to score. So let's click on score items. And the screen should pop up that looks like this. There's a lot going on this screen, but it is kind of simple once I break it down. The way that it's set up in the middle here, that is the student's response to the usually the question will be here, but my demo school doesn't have the question that was there. Here you go. So it didn't pop up on the other period, but it popped up on this one. What I actually did, if I needed to see what the question was, see these little boxes with the arrow, these are little pop-out boxes. If I needed to see that, what the question was, I clicked on that. So this is what the students actually saw on their computer screen as they were taking the test. So they had a passage they had to read, and then this was their prompt. So they're responding to this prompt that's up here. And then this is the actual student response to that prompt. Once again, if this screen is too small, you can pop that screen out to see it a little bigger. So then I've gone through and I've read this student's response to this question. On the left and the right side, this is the actual rubric that was set to score this item. So I can go through and read the criteria on this rubric. And as I've already read the student response, to see the different criteria, because I see right here, this one is on a scale of 0 to 4. Just click on those green buttons and it will pop. So you can see all the criteria that were used, all the descriptors. And then once you're ready to actually assign the score, you've read it, I'm like, okay, this is a 3. You would actually, 2 ways to do it. If I feel like it was a 3, I'm going to click on that 3. And see the circles? Just click in that circle. I can either click on this circle here or this circle here. Either one. So just go ahead and click on the circle. And you should have gotten a message that says success that popped up here. And then something turned green. So whatever you assign that score, that turned green. Now look at this little bubble, because we were grading Donovan. I scored him, but my circle is not completely green. All that means is on this particular example, it was more than one rubric that was attached to it. So if you scroll down on the far right-hand side, it will give you the second piece that was there. Once again, read through it, assign a score. And then his third piece here, read through it, assign a score. So this is just showing that you can have more than one rubric attached to a question. Most times you'll have just one, but you can have multiple rubrics. If it's only one rubric, you only have to worry about reading that one piece here, giving it a score, and then we're ready for the next student. So click on this bubble here, or you can click on the arrow, and it will progress you to the next student. And then the exact same process. Anyone see this, the little menu, did it pop and say someone scored this student already? We're all logged in as the same person. So when I went to grab that student, one of you had already had that student. So I would just go to the next one. So we're all signed in as one person. So, and you guys, that is how you go through and score assignments. So if you have any constructive response on your SLO or whenever you guys start creating tests in the platform, then that's how you score students.
Was it still a day before you get to see those two? I
Say it
know last
again.
time,
Say it again.
when I scored mine, I couldn't see those results until a day after.
It's still that overnight build. That's why I said we're working on the 15-minute build, and this will be a pilot district, but it hasn't happened yet. But once again,
So it'll be the same on that too. I'll be able to see their, like, mine has multiple choice and then it had a short, like 3 or 4 questions at the end for your response.
correct. Yes. So once again, right
So
now,
I technically could have them done in a day.
technically, once we get that feature up, and if we see that that's something that the platform can actually handle to do the 15 minutes, but right now it's still overnight. So just keep that in mind. Right now it's overnight. I can't see their results. So once again, say even if it was 24 multiple choice questions, and they did all 24 multiple choice, it's graded by the computer, I still can't see their scores until the next day. If I have constructive response questions, so it's the next day, I've gone in, constructive response, I've graded my students' constructive response. Just like she said, I have to wait another next day before I can see the results for that rubric score.
Erica, when's the last day for seniors?
I'm not exactly sure how they're doing that this year. I don't
If I
think
get the test on the 11th, I can't even score it till the 12th, and it'll be the 13th before I could see the final.
Yeah, you're gonna have to wait a full 24 hours, definitely.
I
Cause
just
we
wondered-
tried doing
I hadn't
the,
heard what the last day for seniors was.
cause like if they take a test at 2 in the afternoon, it's
Mhm.
not available at 1 o'clock the next day.
Yep.
It takes exactly 24 hours.
24 hours, yeah. So like I said, you know, you heard Todd mention the 15 minutes,
Mhm.
and we're gonna, I personally don't know when that will actually
I
happen.
don't know.
So
I don't look for
I don't
it
know if
this
it's gonna
year.
be before the end of the year. I mean, before the end of the
Graduation
year.
is like the 20,
The 14th is the Friday of the week that we do the SLOs. I
thought
think
graduation.
and then
Is
that-
graduation.
that, which means that Saturday is the 15th. Graduation is the next Saturday, so
Which
it's
is the
the
20th.
23rd. Am I doing the math right?
Okay.
22nd.
May 21st is a Saturday.
Yeah.
Then that's graduation.
Uh-huh.
So we're, I mean, you know, we won't be here that week before. So I'm guessing maybe I'm just throwing this out there, maybe the 14th might be their last day, or
14th is
where they have exams that
Saturday,
week. 13th, Friday 13th, that's right. Will they have exams that week? I don't know.
See, I don't know, because I don't know
That
what
might
they're
be
doing
the
for senior.
SLOs up a little.
But we can't because of milestones. Our milestones end on the 10th.
Yeah.
But don't the seniors that have to take exams, don't they do that the 16th, 17th, and 18th?
See, I don't know. I don't know the schedule.
I mean, they don't take those exams a whole week before school's out.
That's probably right.
What's the last day for regular students?
Hold on. Wish I had my calendar in front of me.
I know, I don't have this on.
I might have it in my phone.
Here, look, hold on, I might have it.
Graduation facility, seniors will be taking, priority 10th.
I think our kids' last day is the 25th. Because then we have
Wednesday.
the Thursday and Friday post planning, and then we're done. Memorial Day's the 30th. Or,
Well, my SLO was scheduled for that Wednesday,
says-
the 11th in the morning.
Okay.
So it would be the 12th before I could score it.
It will, yeah.
And it'll be the 13th when that.
Form, and once again, keep it in mind, with Test Center, that's where I go to release my test. OLA student admin is where I go to actually monitor my students as they're testing, and then I would move back to Test Center to score any constructive response. If you don't have any constructive response, you don't have to worry about scoring it, but if you do, you move back to your Test Center, so you can actually go through and score your assessment. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Is there a way to, edit your students, like I'm missing my 5th, 6th, and 7th period, can I add those to this? And I'm still in the demo phase.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
Am I able to do that?
And I'll show you once you get back over there.
Tonight?
Yes. And so you guys, up on the screen, if you remember, the training that you had was with Todd, which he's your customer relationship manager. Once again, I'm the trainer, he's the customer relationship manager. So if you ever had any questions about the platform, then he's very accessible via email and via phone. So if you want to jot down his information, please feel free to do so. So once again, if you ever had any questions or comments, Todd would be excellent, is a very excellent resource for you guys. And I definitely do appreciate your attention. I gave you a few minutes left to go to the restroom. Thank you guys.